Horror Show. My name's Andy. This is my little 10-minute window to the rest of the world, and today is January 31st, the last day of January, which happens to be the first day of the new Chinese year. But yesterday was the Chinese New Year's Eve. Today is the Chinese New Year Day. So, Nei Hao, I think that's correct. I learned that from Kai Lan. And Xing Nia Hao. I think I'm butchering that, but Happy New Year. Today we're going to be talking about the Oriental influence in our horror films. Film Society kind of lumped Japanese and Chinese films all in what they call the Asian genre. So today we're going to be celebrating the Asian horror invasion. Okay, we're here. Let's go check out some Asian horror. This whole invasion of Oriental horror films began back in 1998 with a film called Ringu. It was directed by Hideo Nakata. Now, I'm sure I'm butchering that name, but that's how it's pronounced, and that's how we would pronounce it here in the States. The success of this movie was huge, so much that they actually made a sequel the very next year. That's an interesting thing about the way they make films over there. There's not a lot of downtime, and they have a very fast turnaround because they're very efficient. They're much more efficient than the American Hollywood system when it comes to making a follow-up film or a sequel or making a movie in general. I'm sorry to say that America, they're faster and more efficient. What can we say? Anyways, my point is the sequel came out the very next year. And it wouldn't be until 5 years later that the success of Ringu would show up in America with our American version, The Ring.
Have you heard about this videotape that kills you when you watch it? You start to play it, and it's like somebody's nightmare. And as soon as it's over, your phone rings, and what they say is, you will die in 7 days. Before you die, you see the ring. You see the ring. Everyone will suffer. You see the ring. You see the ring.
Directed by a very talented man, you may know the name, Gore Verbinski. Now, this was a perfect storm when it came to horror films because not only did they get this highly successful story from Japan cheap, they got a director who was just on the cusp of making a huge name for himself because he was currently also in the same year releasing his first in his trilogy, yes, you know, the Pirates of the Caribbean. Of course, I'm sure Pirates of the Caribbean took a lot longer. This happened to be released in the same year. Yes, and The Ring was released in 2003, 5 years after the original Ringu premiered in Japan. After that, Ring 2 came around in 2005.
It's over, honey. She's not coming back.
How do you know that?
But she didn't die.
What's happening?
I know this sounds completely crazy. She wants to be him. Honey, don't you think you should sleep?
I love you, Mommy.
2005 was another big year for the Asian invasion horror films because that was the year The Grudge came out. Ring 2 and The Grudge came out in the same time. Now, of course, the Ring series lost Gore Verbinski to Disney. He was, working in the Pirates world for the next 5 years. My point aside, 2005 was a big year. Ring 2 came out and kind of did okay. Not as scary, but the reindeer scene is pretty cool. Not nearly as successful as The Ring, but The Grudge came out. The Grudge came about because of a man named Sam Raimi. Now, you all know Sam Raimi originally from Evil Dead, in his breakout film, in Evil Dead 2, highly successful. And this man, at that point, after that, he could do whatever he wanted. This man was working on a trilogy of his own known as the Spider-Man trilogy. In his spare time in producing, Sam Raimi was a strong driving force to bringing these horror films from Japan overseas and being retold by us. As I said, this was The Grudge. Excellent. The Grudge was another American-made film brought overseas with the help of Sam Raimi and the original director of Ju-on. Yes, Ju-on is the original Grudge. And I'm going to try this name. Ihikawa Yu. I mean, I can't, I'm butchering the guy's name, I'm sure. But the man is genius. Like I said, he directed Ju-on and made the American version as well with The Grudge, starring Sarah Michelle Gellar. You had me there. This was just the beginning of all that. It was later followed by another series, The Eye, starring Jessica Alba, and The Eye 2. In the midst of all this, there were dozens of other films that made it to the American shores with a translated version, like Shudder. These were all mainstream films brought overseas. I have to take a moment and tell you about a film I just found on Netflix. I don't know the original title. I wouldn't know how to pronounce it because they just gave the symbols. But the American translation is called The Shock Labyrinth.
Years ago, their childhood friend disappeared. Tonight, she returns. She needs their help. She needs them to remember. She needs them to pay. From the director of The Grudge and Ju-on. The Shock Labyrinth.
This film embodies everything that I love about the Japanese horror genre. You gotta check it out. It's creepy, crazy as hell. Well, there you have it. This is a small taste of the Asian horror invasion films that made it to the American shores and are on our video shelves and on our personal shelves and on Netflix on demand and on demand somewhere. Check them out. My name's Andy. Happy Chinese New Year. Year of the Horse. Not sure what that means exactly. I'll have to look it up.